Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports Podcast. I'm your host, Josh, SalvationsElite. To my right is Bash_Bo3, and to our farthest right, per usual, none other than Rex, ShadyNero. And guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, the stage 3 majors in the book, filled with drama, filled with some wild Call of Duty action, and there's a lot going on. And we have a lot to talk about. Some roster changes in the works. We're talking about what we want to see in stage 4 and the power rankings of all CDL teams. Obviously, there's some obvious ones in there, but there's also some really spicy ones in the mix. Without further ado, guys, I got to ask, what's going on?
Well, John,
oh no,
I'm feeling bold and brash.
Oh no, the square bold and brash.
If you notice the picture in the background, everyone, if you're watching on YouTube, of course, as you should be, ShadyNero, how you doing?
just a win. I totally forgot it was called bold and brash.
Yeah, I did too. Until he said it.
My most prized piece of artwork.
Yeah,
it is phenomenal.
Man, you're feeling good today, boys. A little different intro on the works, but
different.
Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah,
yeah.
A lot of Call of Duty.
A lot of Call of Duty. I prepared.
Oh, dropping it right on the ground.
You know, we're not sponsored by Red Bull quite yet, but listen to this.
I'm scared.
Hopefully this comes. Oh shoot.
Yeah, dude, I'm scared. I don't know about that, bro.
We got a little tasty pop sound. For all you audio listeners out there, I hope you enjoy this ASMR session with the Best of 3 podcast.
Bro, what do you think was gonna happen, bro? Oh no, for all you audio listeners out there, I think you can probably figure out what happened there. He dropped on the ground and it went everywhere. It went everywhere.
There is a good puddle of Red Bull.
Yeah, so technical difficulties cut. Oh baby, we're back. After a little technical difficulty, we have made it, and Stan's Red Bull is intact.
We're good. It's just a little dent.
It's a little dent and a little bit less in it than before, but man, we are doing all right, and we have a ton to talk about today. You can watch on YouTube, you can listen on Spotify, you can drop a review on Apple Podcasts, you can drop a comment on YouTube, and today we're reading review on Apple Podcasts. What do we got today, Sam?
Here we go. So, Juicy Tim.
Ooh, Juicy Tim.
Title, Rub Me Right.
Oh no.
This cast is nasty, and that's not just me stuttering. That's actually written out. Love it. That's literally what it says. Love it. As soon as you said love it. So,
oh my word.
Great input, and to be honest, I think Sam gives the most logical takes with no bias.
Okay, all right.
No,
we're reading this one?
And then listen to this. Rex rubs the inner thighs of New York, and Josh nibbles on FaZe's toes.
Not totally wrong.
Sellium. Yummy.
So, and then he's got a second part.
But New York's the truth. All right, go second.
Hey, he just mentioned the top 2 teams in the CDL, right?
Yeah.
We got a ton to talk about today, so we're going to get into the news and go from there. So without further ado, let's get right into the news. The Call of Duty News of the Week. Obviously, a really interesting week in the CDL, and we're going to be going over all the roster stuff in a second here. We'll start with some of the smaller news first, because otherwise, we can't leave with the freaking best news of the week. That's how lame is that?
Yeah.
Not to mention, so much could change by the time this podcast goes live tomorrow. Who knows? I'm going to try to get this out a little bit earlier than 5, considering there's a very high chance that a lot of news could drop tomorrow. So hopefully,
we are cursed, so
right. And the Tuesday news curse the past few weeks has been tough. But yeah, so I guess real quick, I guess we'll just lead off with the simple stuff. Like the viewership of the CDL this week was really, really weird. It's not as much, I guess, this news of the week, but it peaked at 135,000 viewers, and that peaked during the OpTic Toronto match, actually, in the losers bracket. I think there's a handful of reasons for that. Obviously, it's OpTic, and I think what gets interesting is that it's actually OpTic versus a European team during a European prime time. So we got, 135K for a mid-season major, like a stage 3 major. That's something that even the CWL barely even saw back in, even during BO4.
That is super nice.
So that was really, really cool. Obviously, The grand finals didn't even peak the top 5 most watched matches, which is so weird. But nonetheless, a great time. I don't know, thoughts on the 135K? That's crazy.
That is really nice to see. And I just hope that means that number will carry into hopefully LAN champs.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Heading into LAN?
It's got to be more than 135 if it truly is
especially
LAN
if
champs.
OpTic's playing.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no. Like having that like European time too is obviously huge. Like you've got to time it right. For sure. Like you can't just have it be like one region, which is hard to do, but
yeah. And we finally, I feel like it's the first time we really saw the reaped benefits of having an earlier start, you know, than we've had in past CODs a lot of times. Also we haven't had European teams be a top 3 team in most Call of Duties in the past. So that is a little bit interesting, but yeah, I mean, just crazy to see 135K. Rex, any thoughts?
I mean, yeah, it's great, but I still feel like
fair play.
It needs tweaking. Just like the way tournaments are organized.
Yeah.
It's getting better, but there's still something off about it.
Right. We are going to talk about the format a little bit later.
Just like how like elongated it feels sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
So it definitely needs work there. I honestly think what kills them is it's the breaks, the commercial breaks.
Like, oh yeah, it's tough.
Like to expect somebody to like watch a match and then I mean, I always know after the second S&D, I'm like, I have time to literally go make dinner and do whatever I want before this control starts.
Yeah.
Like it just takes too long. It just does. And I feel like you lose a lot of viewers with that. Cause like, no, like, it's just too long. Just too long.
Yeah, I agree. We'll talk more about the format a little bit later as well, but that is a really, really interesting conversation we're going to have in a little bit. So, yeah, I guess we had the changes section right here, but we'll throw that to right after the roster moves.
Let's do it.
So, all right. Challenger stuff real quick. Obviously, in the Open 3 was this weekend. Easter 1 again, looking really, really, really good right now in the amateur scene. Again, their roster of Jerd, Sib, John, and Gravity has been on fire lately. And in the Open, which was, I think, a 40K prize pool. I can't remember exactly. Around 40K for, I think, there's a pretty good sum.
It was 40K.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, Built by Gamers came in second. GodRx, Kismet, Pentagram, and Pander. And just a really, really interesting overall, I thought, tournament. It was a ton of fun to watch. Again, that broadcast team did a great job. And really interesting tournament. Again, Easter looks dominant, man. Thoughts on
GodRx's team has been super consistent. Built by Gamers,
for sure.
They've been in like every elite. They place highly in every elite, and I feel like these are players that, well, 3 of them were on teams, and then they were the ones dropped.
Right, and Pentagram's been great for a long time.
And Pentagram's been good for a while. Like, I mean, it sucks they were dropped, and people kind of started seeing them as like they were the issue. Like these players have never been seen like the lights of like, oh, they're super good, except with GodRx kind of near the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They've been super consistent, and I kind of hope they end up back on a team.
I'd love to see it too. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
It's kind of like that weird too, like Kismet on Paris. Like I feel like there's moments where he was like pretty dominant.
Yeah. Early middle of the year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like it would be really cool to see that Kismet for sure on a team. And again, I feel like that just shows like when these guys are like them and E-Star, like these guys need to be picked up. We need expansion teams. We need more of these players in the league. But for sure, like E-Star though, like looking at, so the last 3 things was the Open 3 was this weekend, Cup 14. They got second, but then the Elite Season 3, they got first. So it's like first, second, first.
Yeah, in the last 3 tournaments.
In the last 3 like tournament things. It's like, they're really consistent. And I feel like we're seeing John back into like, you know,
dominant form,
almost his full form. So it's like, man, if you're, and again, we'll talk about this later, but if you're one of these struggling middle teams in the league, you've got to be looking at E-Star right now. You have to be.
For sure. For sure. I mean, at this point, they're the most consistent players in the AM scene by far, and with the highest upside, obviously. So it's like, you got to take a look at them for sure. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about challengers as well next Monday as well. And it definitely was an interesting weekend for sure. And we want to talk more about that in the next few weeks as well. So to some other, some spicy, interesting news. So ZooMaa was supposed to have Huke and Rambo on the flank this week to talk about the situation, the 100T LA Thieves, or the LA Thieves and Empire situation, and with Huke and why he got benched. And apparently that got delayed. Not exactly sure when that's going to happen. So we'll see. But definitely a little wild. Definitely a little wild. And it'll be interesting to see kind of their opinions on what went down and the juice behind that.
It is really cool too, like that they're even willing to. Like I think that just shows like, Rex, you've been talking about like how that move was really, it does seem like a pretty overall team decision, and like Huke was wanting to see a change too. And so like, I hope that means that, there's no real bad blood there. Obviously there's going to be some like
distaste,
competitive distaste probably.
Rambo backed out.
Yeah. That's what's weird.
Yeah. That's the thing is like
we don't really know what's going to happen now. If it'll happen.
Hopefully it'll be rescheduled, but it was cool that they at least were planning on it.
Yeah. So we'll see, Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? That'll be interesting, and hopefully we get that story at some point, because there's definitely a little bit more to what we know already. So, yeah, other small things here. FaZe, there's been a lot of posts like on Reddit and on Twitter about how much money some of these teams have won, and like this year so far, FaZe has already won $520,000 this year. Nice. That is insane.
That's wild.
200K from stage 1 from winning, to 120K from getting second at stage 2, and 200K from winning stage 3. That's 35% of the total prize pool has gone to FaZe so far this year. Shout out Tabs 03, Tabs X03 with the post on Reddit.
Go Tabs.
Toronto's at 2 with 290K, and then Dallas is at 3 with 210, and New York's tied with them at 210 as well. OpTic at 100. So, really interesting. Paris Legion, a big old fat 0, and Surge with 10K, and London with 10K at the bottom. So, still, Octane's looking to outperform his fines. We might be getting there. We might have got there at this point from prize money.
Was it 15K last time?
Somewhere around there. Yeah, I think they won 10K at champs or something.
That's ridiculous.
But yeah, just ridiculous at the end of the day, which is definitely funny. Other small things as well that I thought were really cool posts on Reddit. A Reddit user posted how many negative series each main AR has had on the entire year after this major. And there's definitely a few that stand out there. Again, shout out Sports Fanatic on Reddit.
Sports Fanatic?
There's a few that really stand out. The biggest one, at least for me, was Crim. It leads all ARs with 17 series this year with a negative KD out of 25 matches. Again, we always say this, KD isn't everything.
Correct.
But it can give a picture into how players are being used and their effectiveness around the map. Obviously, you have to. It can be like a red flag to go and look more into why this is happening.
Correct. But
it is interesting to see that Crim's gone negative 17 out of 25 matches so far this year, which is pretty surprising. Was there anything else that stood out to you?
For sure. Also, on the flip side, Formal having 7 only. Like there's times for sure where like you kind of saw like Formal, like you kind of thought like, man, he's not really putting up the numbers
out of 26.
But really, I think it shows that he's just kind of consistently being what they need him to be, and like maybe he's just
they need the slaying SMGs.
They need the slaying SMGs to
the
go.
Scump of Garrison Hardpoint.
Yeah. So so like that was interesting. And then of course Insight and Kenny were like,
oh yeah, I mean Insight especially.
Of course, they
ridiculous.
They started stage 2, but regardless of that too, they've only had 4 negative series.
And Toronto's played a lot of series.
Yes,
because of 2 majors.
So they're just wild. So that was a really cool thing to see. And again, just to reiterate, it's not everything, but
right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, Crim has 17 out of 25, accuracy's 13 of 18, which isn't great either. Obviously, we'll talk a lot more about accuracy in a little bit. Sky's 13 of 23, which was a little bit surprising as well, considering you know how good Sky's, how dominant he's been in some of those matches, but then he's been negative in a little bit over half of his matches, which is surprising. And then Shawnee, Clay, and again, Shawnee's another one where I feel like when he's dominating, and that hasn't been the case. So it is interesting. But yeah, we'll see. I thought it was just a really cool post and an interesting insight into the whole year. But yeah, so other things Nadeshot is going to be supposedly co-streaming COD matches this year, with at least the LA Thieves matches.
Mhm.
He's actually gonna do it.
He
or
said
was
that
this
on
just
stream.
talk?
He said that on stream. He said that he declined to be a partner on Twitch, which allows him to stream on YouTube, which then he'll be able, because he's streaming on YouTube, he can then do partner streams with a CDL, apparently. So he said he's planning on it, which is
That's dope.
That's cool.
It is awesome.
But like, my only thing about that is like, anyone who's watching Nade is watching the CDL.
Mhm.
Like, versus someone like Vicstar, who a very small portion of his viewers are actually watching the CDL.
Yeah.
Like Nadeshot, like a massive portion of his viewers are probably watching the CDL. So I'm not exactly sure how much it actually helps the CDL.
Yeah. Yeah. We need like Tim and Nick Merckx and,
Right.
you know, those guys.
Well, we
Legit.
need Tim for sure. I think.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
actually watches. Like he
was tweeting about it this weekend. The
he
Tim
was
curse
tweeting
now.
about it. So like, he would be a great one. He would be a great one.
Oh, I know. I'm just surprised again. I always say this. I'm just surprised Activision doesn't do more of that type of stuff with people.
I don't know.
And like,
they're on Twitch though, right?
yeah, but I mean, yeah,
So,
that's
like-
true. That's true. With like Courage or anyone like that could be interesting as well. But
Twitch.
yeah, I know. Freaking Twitch with their partner rules, dude. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I thought it was really cool news at the end of the day. The other small piece of news, I guess I really wanted to talk about a little bit as well, paired with FaZe's 520K, which I thought was an interesting conversation, which we probably have. There's not really. Anyway, we'll throw it in the news. Why not? The question on Reddit was how many tournament wins makes a dynasty,
Mhm.
and I thought it was a really interesting question. Because, you know, obviously there's a definition of like, you know, you think OpTic Dynasty, complexity, and those are the two that like are the obvious standouts. And you have a lot of other really, really good teams that were dynasties of a year or like really dominant in a year or so. So like, at what point, I mean, FaZe has now won 2 of 3. They got second in the one they didn't win.
Mhm.
And there's no sign of them slowing down at this point. Like, let's say they win one of the next 2 and then win champs. You
for sure got to say Dynasty at that point, right?
Hey, you're getting there.
Because
I mean, but it's a different roster.
Right. And that's
Kind
the
of.
weird thing is that it's a somewhat like, you know, you've got only 2 of the 4. You've got 2 of the 5 or 3 of the 5 from BO4,
Mhm.
but then you have 3 of the 5 with Celium from Modern Warfare. So it is a little bit weird. I don't know. It's a weird situation because it's not the same roster, but at the same time, no
kind
one's
of
the
is,
same
like-
roster of the last 3 years.
Well, I
so
was
it's
gonna
like,
say too, like even Cole and Ghost, weren't they?
well, true. Cole dropped Clay for
Clay.
Karma.
Yeah. So like technically they were like a different roster when they were extremely dominant.
But when did they establish like dynasty team? Was
Well,
it
they were
after Karma?
dominant after COD Champs in BO2, which BO2's COD Champs was in March.
Mhm.
So I think they won like every tournament after that, or at least most of them
And then
after that, and
leading
then
into Ghost.
basically won every tournament in Ghost.
Yeah.
Except for Champs.
So
Or except for the X Games.
and I feel like if we see FaZe in the top, like win another major, top 3-2 in the rest, win champs.
Right. I mean
how do you
that's getting
not
close
say,
to dynasty
like-
level.
like
After the
that's-
dominance of the individual players the
Yeah.
past 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, again, I totally get the argument that it's not the same roster, because that's true. I mean, it's not the same roster, but literally no team has the same roster from last season. So it's like, I mean, it's kind of a weird situation in COD history, but I would be willing to call them a dynasty if they win champs. And maybe even without winning the other 2,
Just being like top.
if they're top 3 at
Top
the
3.
next 2, after already winning 2 of them and then getting second at the other one, then they win champs.
Mhm.
You have to win champs
Mhm.
to like
I mean,
really.
I feel like there's a level of consistency that has to happen from like at least 2 games, which I guess you could say Cold War and Modern Warfare, that consistency's there of like they were just a dominant team. But like the roster change is what makes it weird for me.
right, because I mean,
It's like they went from game to game and you have 3 of like the core and then you added Arcides.
right, which is the
But
E3
like
of the EU
but
guys.
then it went from 5v5 to 4v4.
yeah,
That adds a whole nother
it
wrench
gets a
into,
really
like,
weird convo.
is this a dynasty or is like, because like how much does the game sort of just changed because of this whole thing? So I don't know. Like, I would like to see them be this dominant in the next COD if they have the same basically the same roster. Because I mean, let's think of it this way: like, if you got rid of Simp off this FaZe team and they picked up somebody else, they dropped Simp or they made a trade for whatever reason, do we still consider FaZe a dynasty team, even if they're still dominant, but they got rid of Simp?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit different than like sports, because it's like in sports, you would call no matter what, if the franchise is winning, therefore it's a dynasty.
Mhm.
But yeah, because they've changed, it is a little bit weird.
Mhm.
But I mean, they won multiple events last year, then they got second at champs.
Mhm.
Then this year, they're already won 2, got second at 1. If they won champs again, they're a dynasty.
Yeah, I think if they won champs this year, I'd be okay with calling it a dynasty. It's just there's a sense of dynasty where like there's like staple players to that dynasty where it's like
Yeah.
Arcides hasn't quite stapled himself in yet.
Abizi and
FaZe.
Simp are the staple of the dynasty, obviously.
I think Celium's getting there.
Well, sure, for sure, because he was
yeah.
so good last year.
Right. So like Arcides is like new this year, and Arcides amazing player, but like we need to see him stay a little bit longer with the team. I feel like to be like, okay, now we have our dynasty squad happening here.
Yeah, it is. It literally is a debate of like, are we comparing this directly to the OpTic Dynasty, who stayed together through 3 games basically and dominated in AW, Bo3, and IW, and then they break up in March of World War II. So that is, I guess, the debate. But I mean, at this point, the roster's been together for not even 6 months, this roster of 4, but like, yeah, it is a weird situation. So I don't know. Thoughts? If they win champs, are they a dynasty?
I would say yes, honestly, because even with it being a slightly new team, I would point to them dropping Clay or Cole dropping Clay and still being considered a dynasty too.
Yeah, even though, because that was really 1 year of dominance for them.
Yeah, really.
With the tail end of Black Ops 2.
Yes.
With a different
how long
roster.
was Clay on that team before he was dropped?
About 6 months, because it would have been March to around maybe it's like April to somewhere in there, April or May to the end of the game of BO2, and then the beginning of Ghost, he got dropped for Karma.
But like when we think of the Complexity Dynasty, do you think of Clay?
I mean,
Or
he
do
was
you
a
think
part
of-
of it.
I do.
Sure.
He was part of
Yeah.
it for sure.
Yeah.
Like they were part of the winning success. But like
That's the thing. That means Cole only had 1 year of dominance though, and they were a dynasty.
If you're
because I feel like
considering
the
only
core was
Ghosts.
still there. Yeah, it's a tough call.
Because that means 3 of the 4 players were still there, which 3 of the 4 players were on EU, and 3 of the 4 players were on Atlanta FaZe last year.
Yeah.
But they're just different players,
I
which is
know.
why it's weird.
It is very strange.
Which is why it's really weird. So it's a very different situation, but like
And
the,
the 5
pure dominance.
4 is weird too. It's like you
Right,
dropped
yeah.
2 of your players. It's like
Yeah, I think it's
it
a really
is-
fun combo though.
is that
It is.
Dynasty now? Like you dropped 2 of them. You almost dropped.
That'd be a
half.
fun poll to put up on Twitter
It's
this
about
week.
time we had like a dynasty too. Like it's been
It's been a few years since the
IW.
beginning of World War II.
I mean,
Yeah,
Empire was on their way to Dynasty too.
definitely. Yeah.
And then
And I
they
mean, there's
dropped
been a
Huke,
lot
and
of
it's
dominant
like-
runs for teams, but yeah, we haven't really seen. Right. If it stays 5v5, maybe Empire's right there, but that is tough. So, alrighty. Let's get into the juicy meat of the show before we get into power rankings and everything. Let's talk roster moves and the big potential moves that are going here. So, let's get right into this one. I don't really know which. This has been a hot Rostermania, so we're throwing up this. We're going with this one. Let's go, baby. Let's talk roster
Hot.
changes.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Okie dokie. So,
Man.
this is going to get interesting. So, literally, even tonight, right before we started recording, there was a lot of talk on Twitter on the timeline about potential moves, maybe some bait from Octane, a lot going on here. And the biggest news was, of course, that CDL tweeted earlier that the Ravens are almost surely making a roster change for Zap, and things get really weird really quick. So, Zaptius, we didn't really know if he was signed. He had previously signed a 2-week contract or whatever. And the CDL, the rules had said that you could sign 2-week contracts back to back before you had to sign a full-time contract. So apparently what happened is that Zap signed 2-week contracts, apparently. Because he was announced on April 16th, right around there, basically exactly a month ago. So that would make a lot of sense. And yeah, so the rumors is that Afro also got his visa approved.
Yep.
And then tonight, Alexx tweeted basically a down bad, or not Alexx, Zed tweeted basically like a down bad tweet.
Ugh.
And Zap too. So yeah.
And Zap. So it's not looking good for London. So Zed tweeted, "My luck this year has been awful." And that's like the telltale sign of someone getting benched.
Yes.
So at this point, from what we know, Zed and Zap are getting benched by London after their awesome run at the major.
Again, they turned things around.
They did. That team was looking really good. I was still high on the Ravens, even though they like lost so bad to like 100 Thieves or whatever.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You had them winning the other 2 matches though.
Yeah, of course I did, because they look
So I'll give you
great.
that
They
credit.
look way better. So like, I don't know. I don't like the change. I just don't like it.
Right. So
Unless,
again,
Afro could be Hydra. So we got like a Diamond Con Hydra situation
Mm-hmm.
where it's like Diamond Con was still good and playing well, but Hydra's more of what they needed. So
yeah.
It's just
so
hard
like
too, though,
maybe
because
Afro can do that too.
like,
but
are we forgetting about chemistry though too? It's like teams need that chemistry, and I feel like this
like
London
Paul
team.
and Zap.
Yeah, I feel that this London team was just getting to the point where they were like playing off each other super well.
they seem
and
like
they're
they're
just gonna
vibing.
blow it apart?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I know. You saw
sucks.
that confidence from Paul
Dude.
after the Rokkr match.
That was such.
We're about to 3-0 LA Thieves. 30 minutes,
Dude,
baby.
I loved Paul's interview.
I did
was
too,
gonna-
man.
I was gonna say, I feel like people like, obviously, like
Bro,
It was a
Draza took
meme.
it so personal.
I know, but like you gotta respect the confidence from him. Like,
We don't get
that's
enough of
awesome.
that.
I know, like we need hot takes and like confidence of teams going in. Like, there's too much of this. We'll do our best and we'll see what happens.
They're
like,
a good team.
Like, no, Paul X went in there was like,
No.
we're going to win. Obviously, didn't happen.
They
but
got smoked.
got smoked, but I love that
I know.
because then it creates storylines.
Well,
Right,
you know,
Draza-
like people don't do it for exactly the reason that people
Yes,
people just
well, yeah.
roasted Paul. Everyone starts
They're too
roasting him for
scared.
doing that. It's like no
Yeah.
one wants to do it. So now when we go to interviews, he's just got like, we just gotta go back and work on what we're working on, and we'll come in better for the next one. And
The same thing.
yeah, Hydra's great. Yeah. It's like great.
same thing. It's
Very
like, no.
insightful. Thankful for that.
It's like,
I'm glad you told
you
us you had to
need-
work on things.
Yeah, bro. The interviews have been so boring lately.
Yeah,
Interviews suck. They're too scared.
people are
Paul's
too
was
scared.
good. Clay's are good. Scumps are usually all right.
Yeah.
Crims are good. It's just like, but some people just are too basic. Too basic.
Yeah. So Paul, I respect you, man. That was
Yeah, he
that's
tweeted.
what it needs to be.
Right. I think Draza ended up deleting the tweet.
Yeah.
I think.
he tweeted to kick rocks, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, so yeah, Draza basically. Oh no, he said GG's Royal Ravens. If you're going to say that you're going to 3-0 us, at least win a map.
Yeah.
And then Paul ended up tweeting, to everyone in my comments, kick rocks. I'd say anything to get my team hyped up and confident going into the matches. GG's LAT, they were better team today.
Yeah.
And
But
then
also
Draza
good for Draza. Draza has every right to do that too.
Right.
But
And then
I just-
Draza ended up replying, GG's brother, it's all fun and games. You're nasty.
Which like that is a respectable exchange. Like let
Yeah.
the teams have their fun. You know what I mean? But
I
like,
know. We just we
Social media
shame
destroys it.
players.
We
We
get
shame
so-
players into
Social-
not
peop-
getting interesting.
people jump in on the things like, and it's like
Oh, yeah.
people are taking it way too seriously. And you're
Yeah,
like,
that's the problem
and this
here.
goes into our
bro,
conversation too,
like-
where it's like this is going to force like the players to be so much more distant from their social media now. It's
I
like
know.
it's like come on, like
It's
them
dumb.
let
because they
them
don't want
banter
to
and don't
engage
say
with
anything.
us. They don't want to engage with the fans when we're just crazy psychos.
Exactly.
Well,
Seriously,
hey, I
things
mean,
you read
they're
are just
not
insane
wrong.
sometimes. Like, dude, what is going on? Like, this is so weird.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, overall for London, I mean, again, they had beat they beat Paris 3-1, sent them home. Then they beat the Rokkr 3-0, sent them home. And then they got absolutely smoked by LA Thieves. Although it did go to round 11 on Express.
It did.
It did go to round 11 on Express, and the control was the hard point was just kind of a blowout.
It was. Yeah.
But besides that, I mean, again, and then after that, LA Thieves got smoked by Toronto.
Yeah.
And then Toronto lost. Again, it's the same argument we're going to use for the Rokkr.
Yep.
They're still a long ways from a championship. So you could argue that sure, they were looking better, but like, were they really that close if they're losing to LA Thieves and Thieves is losing to Toronto and then Toronto's losing to FaZe? So it's like, I mean, those are the arguments there, but I do agree that it's definitely a mixy situation. And I mean, Alexx in for Zap, Alexx and Afro in for Zap and for Zed. My goodness, I'm blanking.
Hey, it's okay.
For Zap and Zed. Oh, we got Alexx and Afro, A and A for Zap and Zed, Z and Z.
Hey,
A for Z.
Z.
Beginning and end of the alphabet. A lot of things.
Man,
going
that
on.
is
Wow.
really nice. That's poetic.
That is poetic.
Man. But yeah, so I don't know. Thoughts. I mean, does this make them could this make them better? Is there a world where it makes them better? What's the world
Gosh,
that makes them better?
Honestly, I'm not anti putting Afro in. You have another like sort of like wild
potential?
card, Hydra, high potential situation happening here. Maybe Alexx will do great and come back in and he'll be amazing.
Has he even been playing Call of Duty?
Right. I mean, these are the questions.
That's a good question.
Like,
You don't
I-
know.
like, I
Maybe this is
get-
a break he needed.
yeah,
but-
like I do understand, obviously he left for personal reasons, but to me that seems like he wasn't practicing. I don't
Right.
know.
We don't know what happened with that situation. We never really got any
No.
clarity on it
No.
at all. So
And like, yeah, I feel for Alexx and like, I get it. And like, in a way, it's like he had to leave because in a way he was almost like forced to leave for whatever situation was happening over there. But this is still like, you're not working for a corporation, really. It's
this
not like
isn't
a
an office
business
job.
yeah, it's not like an office job where it's like, yeah, man, go figure out what you got to figure out and we'll bring it back. Don't worry about it. Like when a team starts vibing and they start doing well,
You can't break that up.
how do you, because this is it's still competition. It's like, we're doing better now when you weren't here. It sucks how you had to go and how that happened, but now we're doing better. How do you justify it when this is competition? This isn't just like an office job. Like this is,
Yeah.
you got to get these wins. So that's,
yeah.
now is Alexx untouchable? Is that if Ravens are even worse now? Are they allowed? Like, are they gonna feel weird dropping Alexx later? Like,
Yeah.
is this-
dude.
But maybe they think Alexx is the answer. We're completely off base with this, but that's just what it feels like is happening. And I feel for
No,
Alexx,
for sure.
I sympathize with the situation, but this isn't an office job. This is different. This is
Do you
the
think
competition.
Zed was playing bad enough to justify getting dropped? I mean, he wasn't playing great by any means, but I wouldn't say he was bad.
No.
Nah, Zed was the turnaround for this team in the beginning when they were making a million roster
That's what I
changes.
was saying. That's what I was thinking, was like he was the turning point. When he got on the team, they started to turn around. So it's like so much disrespect to
Yeah.
Zed, just like throw him under the bus. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what gets tough.
But again, I get
Man.
I do get like at the same time where this is like a do or die situation. We're down to the last two majors. And if
Yeah.
you don't get in the top 8, you're done.
Right. Yeah.
So I can see from that standpoint where it's like we try something else, but I kind of feel like they should take the risk and be like, okay, this team
right.
did start to turn around.
I mean, it comes down to money, right? It
Yeah.
comes down to money. They
Yeah.
already have Alexx under contract.
Yeah.
He's getting his money either way. Same thing with Afro. So it's like, if you can cut ties with Zap to save 50K or whatever it is, apparently that's worth it to London, even though
But
you're sacrificing
Zap's
the
on contract at this point too.
Well, no, because Zap was on the 2-week contract supposedly. So
Has it been only 2 weeks that Zap's been on the team?
no, that's what I was saying. Was
two-
that
2
you can get
weeks.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then you have to sign. So
Yeah.
that's why. So that was the situation there. But yeah, man, it must have been a money thing. There's no other explanation. They're just, I mean, we've heard kind of like through the bushes, like from players who have been on the roster in the past, they've kind of thrown some shade at the ownership of
Mhm.
London, not loving the decisions there. And it has been pretty messy with some people. So that's the question mark for me with London. It's hard to like really love what's going on for the Royal Ravens, but yeah, we'll see. I'm not convinced this makes them better. I would say it's pretty likely it makes them worse unless Afro really is just straight up nasty,
Mhm.
but that's just hard to imagine I mean, no, not everybody's Hydra,
No.
you know? And so that's what gets me a little bit worried heading into that change and heading into stage 4. Do you think there's a chance they could make the change another change if it doesn't work?
Man.
Because they cut zero, by the way. We should have had it in the news probably, but
they cut zero.
After our podcast last week, that was basically the only news that happened is that they cut zero officially. So that those ties are gone. Really weird situation. But yeah, thoughts on, is there any chance they make another change, Rex?
I could see it. I mean, so who's on the who's the starting roster now? Shawnee. Well, if
Johnny, Paul,
Shawnee,
and then
Paul,
and then Alexx and
Supposedly Afro and Alexx, yeah.
weird. I mean, I don't know if they do because all those people are contracted at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. If London's that cheap, then that's going to be
Yeah,
the case.
Are they cheap though? Because how many substitutes do they have coming in? Or not?
Yeah, although their hand was kind of forced with Zero, with Alexx, and then Parasite signed a 2-week deal.
Yeah,
so he played for 2 weeks.
2-week deals. Like we don't know how much those were.
That's true. So maybe if they just keep signing 2-week deals, maybe that's their solution. But the roster
Until they
lock
find
is
something that's
somewhere
like, this
heading
is
into
it.
stage 5. I don't know exactly when the roster lock is, but I think it's I think it's heading into stage 5. I have to go double check that. But
And here's the thing too, is like once they know what they've done in stage 4, they'll probably pretty much know if they can or cannot make champs. And so if they
Could they just chalk
underperform
it?
stage 4, they're probably just gonna chalk the year.
that's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? So like why would they spend more money and trying to get like someone else on
I mean,
the team?
that's a real factor. I didn't even think about that off the rip because right now London is 10th.
Yeah.
They are 50 points behind Florida for 8th place.
Yeah. So like I feel like this stage is pretty much do or die.
They have to get top 5 at this top 6 at this stage. They have to get top
they
6.
got rid of the roster they had rocking because I really think that roster was good. Like they were really good.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the
100%.
loss to LA Thieves just made them they just didn't see the upside. Like if we're losing to LA Thieves, who's losing to Toronto, and then you've got OpTic and then New York and FaZe and Dallas is already locked into a basically locked into a champ spot. I mean, they're basically locked in for a champ spot at this point. So it's like, you know, you're really competing with LA Thieves, the Rokkr, and the Mutineers. So if you can outperform them significantly over the next 2 events, you'll make champs. But right now they're 50 points behind Florida, 60 points behind Rokkr. So I guess you're playing for upside at this point.
Yeah.
And so maybe they just think the Afro Alexx play is higher upside in the long term, which is a little bit surprising.
It's crazy. Yeah. I don't 100% agree with that. But again, money is involved in these things.
Yep.
And
that's the thing. They're playing their odds. So we'll see. All right. Let's talk about Minnesota.
yes.
Obviously, this was the big news of Monday was that Accuracy was benched for Major Maniac. So Major Maniac is coming into the roster. Accuracy was tweeting some down bad tweets. Basically, again, the telltale sign of getting benched, the down bad tweets. And
They don't even try and hide it anymore.
No. I think there's like some sort of like vindication of like, haha, I'm leaking this before. There's got to be some sort of like aspect to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's going to be interesting. So they said Major Maniac is coming in as the main AR. No role changes to the other 3 players, and they're going to see what they can do. I mean, did you assume it was going to be Major Maniac? Did you think there was a chance they could make a trade, or anything else? It was said, I think Enable said that there's no way Rokkr could get Slasher
Okay.
because of contract stuff.
It would have been interesting
Well,
to
I mean,
try
they're
to get
roommates too. So like,
Yeah.
are they?
It would have been a weird thing over there. I feel like being like, I'm taking your spot.
Right. Yeah, that
I
definitely
like
gets
you have
whacked.
to have conversations behind closed doors. So probably talk to these people before they drop you. And they're gonna like lock in these people to come there before they tell you, which is like that sucks, and that would have been weird for the Slasher and Accuracy.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I would have honestly thought like they could have gone for Gravity too.
I thought Gravity was an option.
Yeah.
I don't think Gravity's out of the picture yet.
True.
Just because of the potential. If let's say they still suck.
Yeah.
I mean, heading into roster lock, you're going to be literally the fringe team who could get bumped out of champs.
Yeah.
Like, let's say they only win 1 or 2 matches here in stage 4, which is very possible. Then, like, you're looking at a real problem here. So that's going to be eagle eye on the Rokkr in stage 4, considering they're right on the fringe, them in Florida. So, yeah, I mean, thoughts on the roster change as a whole. Do you feel like Major Maniac can be the difference? Accuracy was really struggling in stage 3. He had a really tough go of it.
Man, I'm honestly just getting annoyed with all these roster changes. Like, Pro League's turning into challengers, let's be honest. Like,
it's insane,
anytime
man.
they're like, we're going to pick up somebody new, and then obviously they honeymoon, and everyone thinks they're so Rokkr and Standy. They already did the whole thing with pick up somebody that's, you know, a god in the AM scene, and now it's like, I guess it's Major Maniac, but then they're making, we got to make another change. That didn't work. We got to make another change. Didn't work. Another change. It's like, dude, so clearly, maybe the first picture wasn't right. Like, clearly you don't have a good idea of what's going wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I mean, that might be harsh. That's a little harsh, but it's just so many changes all the time. It's like I feel like we'd figure something out.
Yeah,
I know, man.
I feel like Call of Duty's in a weird spot where the management feels like they have to make a change as soon as things start looking down.
What's the fastest way to point A to point B?
Exactly.
Roster change. I mean, that's what it's been for teams so far this
what
year.
It's been, and it sucks. Like, it's
so there's no long term, which I can see as a investor or whatnot. If like you are probably not going to make champs, and okay, there's no way I can make any of this $2 million pot or whatever. But like at the same time,
with a $2 million pot.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
but it's like, wouldn't you rather want to like have the long term goal of like establishing like a dynasty like team or something like that? But maybe there's just no room for a long term vision anymore, where it's like you need to see results.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, I think, as well. I like that a lot, but at the same point, it's like there are only 12 teams in the CDL. Yeah. There is a ton of talent out there, and so there are a lot of pieces to work with.
Yeah,
where like in the past, so many teams already had their roster set, even in the Pro League, and there was roster locks that were way more strict, and it would happen on certain weeks or certain days. Right now, you can kind of willy-nilly just pull the plug whenever.
Yeah.
And so I think that also matters as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, when you have guys talented as Major Maniac on the bench and it's not working, why not? You know, I mean, at that same time, and obviously teams are looking at New York, and they're looking at Insight in Toronto, and they're like, yo, they went from middle pack teams to the best teams in the CDL. But again, not every player is going to be freaking right. Not every team's going to be Hydra or Insight.
Yeah, for sure.
Like those two guys have been literally disgusting this year, and that's the difference there. So
like theoretically, then expansion teams should help this issue of,
I think it will.
Major switches. So like, to me, that's more exciting, where it's like, can we like see a team stick together and stick it out? And I feel like expansion teams will allow that, because you're not going to have such a heavy pool in the bench.
As many options. Although there still will be quite a bit. I mean, think about it again, like what we talked about, and like my tweet today, which somehow absolutely blew up. That was holy moly, it blew up. But yeah, I mean, like, again, 13 pros who have started at some point this year are currently on the bench. Yeah. Dylan, Zero, Tej, Alex, Methods, Slacked, Slasher, Looney, Parasite, Accuracy, Diamond Con, Vivid, and Fire.
That's insane.
Have all started at some point and are currently on the bench or not in the league at all.
That's 3 teams right there.
That's crazy.
And that's 3 teams. That's 3 of the 4 expansion teams.
And that's not even counting EU and NA challengers.
Any EU or NA challengers. That's so crazy, dude.
We're 32 CDL teams.
I mean, yeah, bro. Make us the NFL. My word. Because we know there's at least 2 or 3 NA challengers teams that current squad could be middling CDL teams right now.
Yes.
And then who knows about EU? There could be 2 or 3 over there as well.
Yeah.
That could be middling pro teams. And if you pick the best players from those teams, I think you could mix together a pretty nice squad.
Yeah.
That could compete for top 4.
Rokkr have to be good after this switch. Like, they got to be good. Like, they got to be good. Because if they don't, it just is like furthering the thing of like, you just got to pick up a new wild card guy who's never played in the Pro League, and you'll just be better.
Right. I mean, the Rokkr have obviously very much, it's been a rocky road for the Rokkr. But it definitely has been a struggle. I mean, they got 3-0'd by London. They got 3-1'd by Empire in their last match. They barely beat the Guerillas 3-2. The Ultra, they lost 3-1. They beat the Legion 3-1. They lost the Mutineers 3-1. So it hasn't been pretty. And again, we saw how badly Group A got smoked in the tournament. And they got smoked by Group A, Empire, Florida, and Empire, and London. So then London in the major, I mean. So, it's just you had to make a change. And again, like what I tweeted this, but like, again, think about it. They got 3-0'd by the London Royal Ravens. Then the London Royal Ravens got smoked 3-0 by LA Thieves. Then LA Thieves got bodied by Toronto. 500 to 95, the 2 hard points combined.
That's actually insane.
And then Toronto lost to FaZe twice in the final. So you are that many layers down bad right now. So you had to make a change. And again, accuracy, it makes sense. Try a different vibe. The Search and Destroy is interesting because they've gotten worse and worse, like record wise in S&D since stage 1. And they were really bad in stage 3 in Search and Destroy. And accuracy has definitely not been great on an individual like basis either. And so we'll see. He basically has been playing as the island player for them, and it just hasn't worked out very well for him. He's been getting picked. It's been tough. And so, we'll see. I think there's a lot more problems than just how they play. I'm not convinced that this move's going to make them better. What's your final verdict on the Rokkr? Are they better after this change? I would say the slightest.
I was going to say, I feel like a small margin.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more riskier move with like gravity or maybe even, gosh, I don't know.
A big trade.
Or, something.
Bringing in methods.
But I do think Major Maniac is a good player. I think he could pick up where accuracy was kind of, failing a little bit. So I'll say slightly better. Not enough to make a difference of top 5 though.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's about right. Yeah, Rex, you said same camp?
Same camp. I don't know. I'm very mixed feelings about just like picking up these not random challengers players. So many changes where like
for sure.
It's just like when there's an issue, the fix is just drop somebody, get somebody else. It's just what it feels like, and that's just like where I'm annoyed with things.
Yeah, definitely.
That is hard.
Definitely. All right. So the other thing would be like, was Octane baiting us? That was the other question there. He basically tweeted like a few like kind of like, yo, this is crazy. I'm mind blown. I need to write a book about this, blah, blah, blah. Type tweets. And then Methods replied like, sorry, bro, you'll be back. And then Octane replied, we're dropping like flies, man. But CDL Intel tweeted while we were recording this, basically that he does not think Octane's being benched, and then a lot of the replies were pretty all trolly from the pros as well. So I think Octane's in the clear.
I think we're in the clear.
I had the kind of like the bait vibe from the beginning there, but so we'll see. There could be some potential. Maybe the Surge are trying to make other roster changes. I know Octane did express a lot of frustration with the management of Seattle last year. And so maybe he's talking with a little bit more frustration from the Seattle side this year. They did try to pick up Vivid and they couldn't get him. And, I definitely don't think that they could probably use another roster change, and maybe that's not going to happen. Yeah. And so that's what I'm wondering. If you had to put the odds on, like a percentage odds, what's the chance that the Seattle makes a roster change before champs?
High.
Oh,
wait,
gosh.
Rex, would you say your mic cut out?
High. I think they will.
Oh, okay. High.
I guess it depends on their stage 4 performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see one for sure.
Okay.
But the question is, what do you do?
That's what I'm saying.
Do you try someone else than Decimate? Do you get rid of
Gunless or Octane?
Pristini? Oh, that's
They're in a
one.
really tough spot, man. And that's why, like, I would have put it at really high chances before this tweet, but now this makes me think that he's in the same situation he was in last year.
Stuck, yeah.
Where they couldn't make any moves because of management. I'm wondering if that's where they're at again.
Yeah. Which that kind of goes into like ZooMaa's tweet too a little bit.
Whose?
ZooMaa's.
Oh.
Like where he said like
mind blown.
Teams are like will change at the slightest thing, but then will not change.
And Nubsy put out, yo, I'm stressed. Like I'm going to put on pounds because of this type tweet as well. So that could mean that there's been something weird going on with the Seattle camp, probably around roster stuff, I'd imagine. So we'll see. Keep your eye on Seattle. This whole conversation could be useless by tomorrow if they announce that half their team's benched.
That tends to happen to us.
Who knows? But yeah, so any other news there is, I guess the only other team to maybe talk about for potential roster changes would be Paris and LAG. I mean, Paris is interesting. They seem so hopeless.
I know.
Like, do you think there's anything that they could do? You know, obviously their tournament didn't go well. They got knocked out round 1. London, like, is there any type of move they could make that would make sense? Obviously they're Legion, so like the moves aren't that ideal.
I was just not very excited with the temp move, honestly.
Right. A lateral move in a lot of ways
for sure. Because then it's like weird because like the discussion with Classic is like he really has been a solid player. Like you can't deny he's been a good player for this team.
He's had very good moments.
But it's like I feel like they need more than just good.
My thoughts on Classic is the exact same thing as Slacked. They could be very valuable players on a team with a lot of talent. Like if you throw them on a team that is very, very talented, where they like let's say, for example, let's just make a hypothetical example. Yeah. You throw Classic like on like New York or on FaZe or whatever. Yeah. You know, they could be even with Slack with Florida. Like he didn't look bad at moments and he was valuable at times, but there's just an inconsistent slaying ability across all 3 game modes that is just lacking. I could see a move with Classic. I could see a move with Scraps or I mean Aqua. I can see a move with Temp as well. Any
I'm
of
seeing
these players
Scraps
potentially.
and Temp on Paris. Aqua, I think, has been good. Classic, I think, has been good. I'm seeing Scraps and Temp are like kind of my guys I have my eye on. You pick up some random challengers, not random challengers, but you pick up a good challengers player, even maybe picking up Zaptius or whatever. Or even like another pro of some sort, like, but really,
John. Because who do you think would be most likely to join that? I think John joining that team is not crazy.
No, not at all.
I mean, Zaptius is interesting.
Team, it feels like.
If Zap is off London, that's also interesting.
That would be
John
interesting.
joining would be interesting. Jerd? Could you get him on that team?
Maybe like the Jordan Scraps vibe.
A little like reunion of old times. Yeah, I just don't see a good way where even if you brought in one player for any of those guys, it's just hard to imagine.
You almost need 2 or more.
I know, right? It's just like the high upside slaying to actually get to that point where it's just like, how do you get there? I don't know. Because again, they are way behind Paris and Seattle. Again, Seattle has 50 points. Paris has 60. London has 70. LAG has 90. And then right now, the barrier to entry into COD Champs is 120, and that's Florida. Yeah. And Florida looks like they have a lot of potential still and promise. Yeah. And who knows, they could make a roster change even still at this point with Havoc if they can find a higher upside player to throw in there. So Zaptius.
Zap on Florida,
though?
That would be interesting.
That would be kind of nice. I'd kind of be down. Again, John, though. Yeah. John makes so much sense.
I know. John makes a lot of sense.
So much sense. It's like at this point, like, bro. Yeah. I can't believe they haven't done it yet. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah. That would be juicy. Zap to Florida would be really fun.
Yeah, because it's like Vivid 2 is still out there. Like, who is like a really
Vivid's
good
what I
role.
want to see.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
Based off what happened with Seattle.
Yeah.
Any other guys any other like potential moves that could happen? Rex, what's the news? You need to predict some news for this upcoming that we're going to miss.
Prediction of news.
Yes.
Let me think. At Dallas Empire, they're going to be making some changes again.
Oh, wow. Really?
Wow. They are going to be making some changes.
Is that why the emergency? Is that the emergency reason why
Rambo
had to back out?
Why they nuke Ilya off that team?
Illy's been disappointed. We'll talk about them during the power rankings, but
so at Dallas Empire making a change.
Okay,
Heard it
interesting.
first.
That would be actually really wild.
That would be.
Tomorrow could be a crazy news day,
Ugh.
or as of today, as you're listening to
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
We're recording pretty late on Monday night.
Yeah.
So you know how it's been for us and our luck.
Oh, yeah.
Even if I get this thing out by 11 a.m., I bet there will already been 4 news massive tweets bombs from CDL Intel. So we'll see. There's a lot of other potential possibilities with roster changes, and so I guess we'll talk about all the teams here in the power rankings. So without further ado, I don't know what drop we're gonna use. Best in the game? Sure. Why not? Best in the game. Let's go. All righty. So pretty straightforward here. It's about, we haven't done power rankings, and it's been a little bit because I've been doing them on Mondays mostly in some videos. So it has been a second.
It was post Major 1, I think was last time.
Really?
I think.
Oh, wow. So it's been like 2-3 months. Yeah. That's crazy. But yeah, so here is our little template we're using. Nothing too crazy there. We got it just rocking and rolling. Hello there. Hello. And we're going to be just going 12 through 1 using the tiers. We'll try to keep it as short as possible. We don't want to go too long and bore you guys out here. That'd be the worst case scenario. So, all right, we're starting from the bottom. Now we hear who you guys got at number 12. This is actually pretty spicy down here at the bottom.
Number 12. Okay.
At number 12, who do you guys got down there at the bottom? Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I've got Paris.
Dang.
I've got Paris. You're thinking Paris, you're thinking Seattle.
Right.
Maybe LAG a little bit in there. But to me, Paris has been very disappointing, and the roster move with Temp was very lateral. And they're just there's no one on that team that sparks confidence for me.
Right.
And so
I mean, not if you again, they're somehow Florida's kryptonite, but besides Florida, their last win was against the Rokkr at the start of stage 2.
Yeah.
And that was the Rokkr pre-standy. So
so
it's been a while. Minute besides the Mutineers who they beat twice in that span. So obviously it's a little bit whack to discount someone's win, but to be fair, it is a little bit weird that they have Florida's number. So all right, Paris, I totally get that. Rex, who are you going with?
Paris.
Dang, tough stuff for Paris, man.
Very.
I don't know. I guess it comes down to whether or not I believe the power rankings as of currently where the rosters stand. I feel like I got to go Paris as well, but I do think it's more likely that Paris makes a roster change than Seattle does at this point.
I would agree with that too. Yeah.
So the tiebreakers for me is that do I like power rank with the potential for roster change? Yeah. I won't. I'm going to stick with Paris at 12 and put Seattle at 11. Are we going to all be on the same page there? Because it kind of sounds like we are.
Yes, I have Seattle next.
Yeah, that is a little bit tough because you're looking at LAG, you're looking at London, you're looking at Florida, Rokkr, probably those teams in this conversation here with Paris and Seattle. But it does feel like those two are still definitively the bottom 2 teams. Yeah. And I think in my rankings, I'll have them in the same tier as well. So are you guys going same tier for those guys?
They're for sure same tier. The question is, I always forget if I use 5 or 4 tiers. I feel like I use 5, don't I?
It kind of depends. It kind of depends on. It could be either. Who knows? That's the surprise of it.
That is true.
But we'll go from there. So okay, we're starting off on the same foot here.
Wow, look at us.
Look at this agreement, and we'll see what happens. So okay, next up, Sam, want to lead the way again?
Yes. Okay. So this is where it gets kind of weird because
there's a few teams here in the mix. As of right now, we know that Rokkr made a roster change.
Yes.
We think London made a roster change.
See, to me,
LAG, Florida.
To me, if London doesn't make this roster change, they're not next.
If they doesn't make the roster change, they're not next.
But if they're making the roster change that we think, Alexx Afro, I think they're next. I think they're 10th.
So you're saying based off of the current rosters that we think are going to happen, you're putting London here at 10.
So the thing is, like, do I go off of that?
I think you have to. I think you have, because at this point we know they're probably happening. With Paris, it's all speculation. Seattle, it's all speculation.
But I'm not too high in LAG either, though. I'm not.
Yeah, that is tough. Rex, do you have an input on this debate?
No, I'm literally in the same battle in my mind as Sam as LAG or Ravens. I would have put
For me, it's
Ravens
simple.
higher if they kept their roster. Now that they're bringing back
LAG,
Alexx
yeah.
and putting in Afro is more of like wild card scenario for me. So it's
Mhm.
hard for me to be like, oh, they're a top 7 team or top 6 team. But now with the change, it's like I don't know where they're gonna land anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's okay?
I think I'm a little
see you
higher
did-
in LAG than maybe Sam is, and maybe
Yeah.
probably what you are.
Right. I mean, for
But-
me, it comes down to like the upside and like the ability to swing into that top 6. And at this
Yeah.
point, it's just not there for LAG.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I see no avenue. Quote this. I see if watch LAG just come out
I
here
know,
and pull the EG. I
thing
see
is that
so many
no
colors.
avenue where
Wins
LAG
maps.
finishes top 4 at champs.
Yeah.
I mean, if they make champs.
Yeah.
That's why it's like, is there a world where London does? Yes. And we've seen more recent success from London as well. So for me, it's a pretty obvious choice for London at 9, LAG at 10, and go from there.
Mhm. Okay. I respect that. Gosh, just because I'm really down on that trade, I'm gonna put London next. So 10th for me is gonna be
Dang,
London.
that's tough.
I don't have a lot of confidence in Alexx. I never, prior to him leaving, I just didn't see anything. I don't know. I could,
I'm
It could-
same.
yeah.
Dang.
So
like- Yeah.
go for it.
I mean, the only thing I can see is Afro. If Afro
That's
like
the thing is Afro.
is just like awesome, then the Ravens goes up at least 2 or 3 in my book. But with Alexx, I don't see, maybe just because he's in a bad mental state at the time, he was playing bad. But if he's playing the same as he was before, not great. Afro,
Yeah.
though, if he's just great, then I think this team's going to be able to beat teams like LAG and beat like even maybe teams like Rokkr. But I just don't know enough about Afro to know that he is going to be able to beat LAG.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for how I look at it is, can Afro be as good as Zaptius was? And I mean,
Mhm.
Zaptius was very solid, but he was by no means like nasty. So
Right.
I guess I think that Afro could be that good. And then like Zed, again, in the same boat, very consistent. And I think Alexx can be the same thing. And I honestly do think that Alexx presents a little bit more upside in slaying than Zed does, just slightly more.
Mhm.
And so that's why I think they have a little bit more upside after this trade than they did before, but the move than they did before. But again, the risk of how long do you have to reset the thing? Look, it took a while for the Zaptius to click
Yes, it did.
with the team. So how long could this take? That's the question. And that's why I don't love it either. So I have London at 9. All right, so this is where we're at right now, Rex. So who do you have at number 9? Do you have LAG there?
Man, dude, it pains me because
Do you have Rokkr there?
LAG
Florida?
LAG has been looking
He's
good.
trying to-
Like, I think LAG is going to be able to beat teams like Rokkr and Mutineers. How consistently are they going to be able to do that? It seems like they're like right there every time.
Well,
And I
they're
wanna put them
insanely
higher.
competitive.
Like, yeah, they're so competitive with like a lot of people. And that's the part that like, I'm like, LAG is just better. Like they can, but I mean, the results haven't quite shown yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta go with, LAG, but it pains me. I can see LAG.
Oh man,
going
I
up
would
to even
love to
7.
see this roster succeed.
Yeah, it's a fun one because like they truly did do a different strategy than everyone else, and it kind of worked.
Well, the new strategy they should do is pick up Easter and then move Vivid in for Jerd. That roster.
So just drop their whole roster.
Yeah, it's like nuke.
Yes,
we
yes,
are-
that's what they should do.
We are nuking the roster.
But the thing is, something about
didn't hear it
LAG,
from me.
something about LAG is working though. It's just like it's. I mean, it's got to be just like the slaying power is just not there.
No, yeah,
That's
like
the only thing.
That's what
like,
it is.
They're so well organized. It feels like they seem like they're on the same page.
I mean,
It's
they
just they
took OpTic.
can't-
They beat OpTic map 1.
Mhm,
They took them to round 11 in map 2,
mhm.
and then they lost the round 11. Wada bang, wada boom. They lose the series. and then OpTic goes on a run.
Yeah.
And so it's like they were right there with the team who ended up finishing top 4.
Yeah, they always seem to be right there. Like they always seem to be like right there with the top teams, but they just never close it out.
No, ever. And they just keep going game 5s and struggling, and it's tough.
It feels like they just need one person who can be like, they just need their Hydra. They just need their standee.
I know.
And, like,
And they benched him.
Completely changed. Well, Vivid wasn't doing it, obviously.
No,
it wasn't
I agree.
working.
Vivid
and
wasn't
they look
doing
better
it. I
with
agree.
Chino in my mind.
Well, they're more consistent with Chino. That's
more
for sure.
consistent with Chino. So, but they just,
I'll be
they just
honest,
need
I
somebody
mean-
who can just kill things.
I think at the end of the day, I can't believe they haven't tried benching Apathy.
Yeah.
I love App. Don't get me wrong. We know we all love App, but like you have to try something. Bring in Vivid.
Why
Try
not
the upside
silly?
for Apathy.
Apathy
You
has
know?
shown. So here's the thing: Apathy has shown life of like just being like crazy
Silly.
good, getting a bunch of
Then
kills.
who are you benching?
Silly,
That's
probably.
the thing. It's like they're just in such a tough spot where it's like everyone is playing their part.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
why you need to pick
not
up
enough.
Sib and John
And John
and Gravity.
Gravity.
LG is just
Oh
like
man,
a
we'll see.
tragic-
We'll see.
Tragic
But,
situation in my mind.
Yeah, it gets really interesting. So, okay. So then who do you have up next? And you've got LAG at 9.
Mhm.
And now we all have the same 4 bottom teams right now.
Yeah.
I haven't committed to what tier I'm going to have these guys in yet.
No.
But what teams are you in consideration here? At least in my head, there's a definitive top 6.
Mhm.
Depends what you think about the Major Maniac move. Depends what you think about Florida.
Yeah.
It gets a little interesting here. So we got
Yeah.
Florida. We've got Rokkr.
I think it's Rokkr.
Which teams are there? Rokkr for you?
I think Rocker's 8, and the reason is they have fallen right back into where they were first in their pit. They are a terrible hardpoint team again.
Yeah.
3 and 8 on stage 3 hardpoints. I don't know how you had such a large honeymoon period in stage 2, and then stage 3 you just collapse again.
Empire?
Worse than Rokkr, you think?
I don't know.
Really?
It's not a definitive answer at this
You
point.
bring up a good point there, Josh. I've just like in my mind, I'm just like, oh, Empire's in like the top 5. But
yeah, but
you're right.
obviously not.
I like every time Empire plays, I'm like, they could easily just lose this.
Right. I mean,
But-
it's still every time you watch Empire, like you're not exactly sure what you're going to get. I mean, based off of these last few events, they got 3-0'd by OpTic, they got 3-0'd by FaZe at the major. Those were the two matches.
Which
Obviously
you know,
solid teams, but
really the top 4 teams right there.
right. And OpTic, was obviously catching fire at the time, and they played great in that series, and FaZe smoked them. They took Rokkr. They beat Rokkr map 4 the last match. They lost 3-0 to the Mutineers. They took Guerillas game 5. They got 3-0'd by Ultra.
Yeah.
I don't know,
So
man.
here's the thing: they're still beating the teams they're technically kind of supposed
Right.
to beat.
Florida was the only tough one.
So Empire's like not in a bad spot, but I feel like in everyone's mind and probably
They
in
have
their
no upside.
minds, they are in that bad spot. Like, yeah,
But
they're
I feel
just
like-
above average. They're not great. That's where we're at with like almost with Empire, and like the fact
Yeah.
that they're not great makes them bad in everybody's mind.
And yeah, they need to make a roster change. I agree. They can't stick. They can't keep sticking with Fellow,
Yeah.
or
But
they
even,
can't keep sticking with Crim.
but even in this
at
current
main
form,
AR.
though, like you can't say that they're number 8. There's no way, right?
Crim. The problem is, I
The
don't
thing is,
necessarily
Empire
know
can
Crim's
lose
the
on
main
any
AR.
given day, almost to any given team in my mind. Like
Is
Empire
Crim a
can
main
play
AR?
any of his teams. Yeah,
I don't.
Well, what's your argument for not?
I mean, I think the problem is in this game you have 2 ARs all the time
Mhm.
now. So
I
it's
guess like Fellow. You think maybe in the way Crim plays. I mean,
well,
I feel like
in an
Fellow's
ideal
way
world,
faster than
Crim plays like a flex where he only uses AR on real AR maps.
Yeah.
Because he plays too fast. He gets picked. There's just problems. Like I actually don't necessarily love how Crim plays with as a main AR.
Hmm. Interesting.
well, there's really no roles in COD, so
With an AR in hand, I just think that he might be better suited for an SMG right now. It'd be interesting to see him play as an SMG. What if you just threw Crim at the second SMG and let Illy play Flex, the second AR, and Fellow? I don't know.
I mean, you think Crim?
I don't know. I don't
wanna get
love any
blasted
situation
on
for
Twitter,
Empire
dude.
right now.
But
Okay,
Crim,
with that said,
you can see him play the S&Ds, and he kind of like hides, runs away.
I don't love any of these situations.
He's not an good challenger, which again is respectable. You play for the win. You know where your strengths are, which I can
Man.
respect. But
I
he's not. He kind of knows that he's not going to be the
Right.
guy who's like slaying out like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But
I just don't have any
SMG,
confidence.
Can you imagine him in a first Simp and a BZ? Like,
No, yeah, I don't love that
No
either. But
shot.
again, he did play SMG last year, though. I mean, on half the maps, he was a flex, but he played SMG last year.
but
So-
5v5.
Right, 5v5 is a little bit different. I agree. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't have any confidence in the Empire team right now to be a top 6 team at this point right now where we're at. I agree with Rex's potential that they might be making a roster change, and that could be the news that is going to slide under the table up until tomorrow or whatever. So I have Empire at 8. You have Rokkr at 8. I like the Major Maniac move enough to move him up and give me a little more
Empire
confidence in
at
search and
8.
destroy,
Oh,
which is crazy. Who'd have thought that?
That's a wild take, man. Like, they've never, like, they're winning the matches they're supposed to win. I don't think you put him down there is pretty
Yeah, and that's what I'm
preemptive.
saying.
They
They beat
win the ones they're
LAG,
supposed to win.
and they beat Paris.
and they beat Rokkr, didn't they?
They beat Rokkr, but that's in Rocker's worst form before they make a roster change. So I have Rokkr up next. So I have Rokkr
Interesting.
here. They're in the same tier. But it definitely isn't like some obvious one here. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, with Rokkr at 7 with a slight upgrade right now with Major Maniac. I could see them, competing for top 6 here again, but it gets a little bit tough and a little bit. It's just hard to really predict the improvement in respawn that we're seeing, that they need to have right now, especially so with Major Maniac. Even though the S&D has been really bad lately, and I think that they'll improve with Major. So, all right, who you guys have at 7?
Empire.
Okay.
Here you're thinking Mutineers maybe is around here, but I kind of do have some recency bias.
Whoa, Rex, hot take.
Yeah, Mutineers 3-0'd Empire on their last thing. Mutineers also 3-1 Thieves?
Yes, 3-1.
3-1 Thieves, and then it got 3-0'd by
By OpTic.
New York.
Oh, New York,
Oh,
then OpTic.
Then OpTic, yeah. So yeah, no, very very similar to what you said. Obviously, I feel like Empire deserves to be in 7 instead of 8. But at the same time, there is, with this current roster, with how Illy has been performing with Fellow, and it just, there isn't a lot of reason to believe they're going to be going far.
Right.
So for sure, they need a roster change. Who needs to be in? I don't know.
Yeah, there's not an obvious solution
No.
there. That's what's tough. But
So this team
they don't
could,
inspire confidence.
no, this team could be figuring it out, and they could have a rough stage 4, but who knows? Maybe by stage 5, they find someone to fit in, and they go for it. So,
Okay. All
but-
right. Rex, you have Florida there.
I have Florida at number 7.
Wow.
I think
So where's the confidence in the Empire coming from?
just because it feels like they're winning what they're supposed to win still. Like, I guess
Florida
like they
beat
have a
'em.
loss, once. Like I'm not ready to just completely give up on the Empire like that. Yeah, they've been looking worse than what we're expecting, but I also feel like there's this sort of like idea of like, we imagine them, they won champs last year, they should be a top 2 team, but like they're not. But they're not bad yet. Still, I think they're an above average team.
I don't know, man. They've got 3-0'd in 3 of their last 4 matches. I mean, they beat Rokkr, but the Rokkr have been horrible lately. That's what
I
gets
have
me.
a feeling, like, I just have this feeling they're going to turn it around. Like,
If they make a
Shotzi
roster change, or
looks
even
too
with this team
good.
currently,
Illy
that's the thing, is that Shotzi continues to improve and look good.
and I think Illy is going to improve still. I know he's not going to be your MVP this year, like we were kind of thinking. And
Yeah, definitely
I'll
not.
eat that
He's having
one.
a tough go.
But he still is a good player. He still has a good head on his shoulders, and I think Illy can turn things around at some point. And I think it'll
Man.
happen
Oops.
still.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough,
Crimsix
bro.
and Fellow are the ones that I kind of like am wavering on, sort of what's going on there. Not that
Yeah.
they're bad players, but it seems like the dynamic
working.
just isn't quite working with that team anymore. They could play on other teams and be great, amazing players for other teams, but the combination they have there now seems sort of off.
Yeah, I agree. Again, all the successful teams have at least 2 players that can pop off at any moment. And like Illy, we've seen it twice, and we saw it against the Rokkr on Moscow where Illy popped off. But again, the Rokkr have been so bad lately. It's just like I just don't see any upside for them where I could see it for the Rokkr reaching that point with Major Maniac to get to a point where they can be more consistent. I just don't see the high upside right now for the Empire, and that's why I think it's more of a long. This is like a COD champs. This is a COD champs run team if they're going to stick together. So that's where I'm at with it. All right, top 6. Rex has Empire at 6.
I have
So,
Empire
Sam,
at 6.
Who do you have at 6?
This is gonna be interesting.
Gets interesting.
LA Thieves and Mutineers.
LA
right,
Thieves, Mutineers, OpTic, Toronto, New York, and FaZe are the last teams left on the standings there.
Man, obviously Florida beat LA Thieves 3-1, but with Huke on that team, I see more upside than Florida's current roster.
Right. It kind of depends on how are we power ranking these guys.
Yes.
Are we power ranking these guys for today,
Mhm.
or are we power ranking them for 2 weeks from now?
Yeah.
Or 3 weeks from now, or a
Yeah.
month from now? You
To
know,
me, this is going to be solely on my confidence of Huke. I'm putting Mutineers at
over
6.
the next few weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
So Mutineers at 6, and then I'll just put Thieves because that's who I would have next.
Yeah.
For 5.
What roster change would Florida make if Florida brought in John tomorrow? Would you then?
I feel like I would. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I agree with you that we've seen, I mean, obviously, like in a match like against LA Thieves, like or against London, immediately you're like, oh, this is the Thieves that we could see.
Yes.
Like we finally saw it. And we hadn't seen it yet with Huke yet on that team. And so that got me pretty excited about the roster. And I agree with you. And like right now for Florida, I really, really like this team a lot. And it's just, man, Neptune. Also, Rex, Neptune had his best stretch of the whole season by far this major against
Glad he
LA
finally
Thieves.
got there.
Yeah, and in some of the hard points, but it was specifically against LA Thieves where he looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Not so great against Subliners and OpTic, but yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with Mutineers over Thieves.
Yeah.
But again, Thieves does have right now longer term upside, I think, unless Havoc gets benched.
That's the question: is like, will Florida make the change, or are they going to kind of stick with it?
Yeah, and that's what gets tough. So I'm going to go Mutineers. I'm going to go Thieves, then Mutineers. So Mutineers at 5. Rex, who do you have at 5?
I have Thieves at 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think they look really good. They have the potential to even go higher, but it's a debate between OpTic and Thieves for me. Which one's the better team? OpTic,
Right.
I think might have. Even though like they lost, I feel like they might have sort of discovered something
For
during
sure.
this major. That we're gonna see a new OpTic going forward. And
I mean, man, yeah, we'll talk about OpTic in a second here, but for sure,
OpTic
that is
might have broken that Thieves wall. And to me, Thieves is that wall. Like
Yeah,
once you beat the
that's
Thieves,
true.
you're in that new echelon.
Yeah,
of,
we
like,
talked
things.
about that a little bit last week, and it did feel like that at the tournament a little bit here too. So,
Which is like good for Thieves, but also bad because it's like saying it's like they're not getting better. They're just that good, and that's just how it is. And
yeah, that's what's weird about
teams
it.
just
for
have
sure.
to catch up to Thieves, beat Thieves, and now you're playing a different game.
Yeah, I agree.
That's how it feels to me. Like Thieves look good, but they don't look like they're like improving too much. They just look like they're good.
Yeah, yeah, that's what's tough. I mean, for me, I just updated my tiers. I threw Mutineers, Thieves, Rokkr, and Empire all in the same tier there, as basically contenders. But you know, they're on the. I mean, like Empire's on the back end of that tier for sure right now. So are Rokkr. It is tough. I could see an argument where you throw Thieves and Mutineers in their own tier, where because they have shown more signs of beating good teams.
Yeah.
But you know, at the same time, if you're looking for like if this power rankings is for the next 2 weeks or so, I think it's probably fair to throw them all in the same tier. So, all right, at number 4, I would imagine we're all gonna have the same top 4 here because it kind of sorted itself out here in the final 2 rounds of the tournament. We saw a lot of matches between these 4 teams. So we all have OpTic at number 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
This was a huge tournament for them.
Oh, it was ginormous.
Huge.
I mean, again, they were on the brink one round away from being down 0-2
Yes.
to LAG in the first round of the losers bracket or the second round. They could have got eliminated without winning a match, and they went on to beat LAG. They went on to beat Empire, then Florida, and then went round 11, game 5 with Toronto in a really impressive showing from OpTic.
Wow.
They're right back as contenders for champs again. Like they went from being in the dumps and taking two hard points off Toronto.
Yeah.
What a freaking rebound.
Toronto finally bled, and now it might just be like a huge gash. Like, they're going to be good, but now people know how to beat them.
If OpTic lost to LAG, was there a roster change?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Heading into stage 4 with LAN at the end of the tunnel, I think they would have played it out and toughed it out. But I mean, think about the vibes. I talked about this in the breakdown video, but the vibes difference right now with like the hope and optimism heading into stage 4 with a LAN tournament at the end versus like the absolute negativity that there would have been if they lose to LAG there. And instead, you get to see the upside of Scump slaying like on that Garrison map, and like he was frying, taking a Garrison off the Ultra, which is a really huge win. And you saw moments of Dashy literally looking like the best player in the CDL at points, and absolutely fried. The clutches in Search and Destroy. Formal had some great reads in S&D especially, and Envoy was again hitting those flanks per usual, and had some really nice maps. So as a whole, OpTic, I think they're right back to being a contender. But again, they didn't clutch up when it mattered. They just keep finding themselves in game 5s.
Yeah.
How in the world do they keep ending up in game 5s? They've had more round 11s, I would imagine, than anyone this year. It's been crazy. So, any other thoughts on OpTic? I just rambled for like 20 straight minutes.
No, I am curious though. If we're down to talk about this with 2 and 3, is there an argument for not having New York as 2, New York 3, Ultra 2? Because Ultra New York did not play this major. Each other.
I know.
Right. And I wanted to see it. I really wanted to see it. It's a shame they didn't get to play. It is a tough argument to make. Obviously, Toronto, they beat OpTic. They went game 5 with FaZe in the winners finals. Then they kind of got smoked. Or then they again went the distance with them in the losers finals. Yeah. Crazy. Both were crazy series. And then obviously FaZe kind of does the doo-doo on New York in the rematch. So it is tough. Rex, I want to hear your thoughts.
Which I think if that FaZe New York one went more of the distance, this wouldn't even be a conversation. But since New York kind of just like got smashed a little bit.
Yeah.
They didn't even get like smashed, but like they won the first map. You're like, oh wow, this is gonna be a great series. And then it's just like once I think it was like the control, you just saw they lost the control. You could just see just like the vibe, like it was like New York was just shot. It was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, FaZe clutching that round 11 on checkmate seemed really deflating for New York.
Yeah. It's just like they couldn't recover, and then the control was like also tight.
Yeah, that was a huge turning point.
And then it was just like, okay, now we're on a bad track here
because FaZe smoked them on that Garrison control. RCDs is just dropping nukes on them. Yeah, just shooting lasers.
Well, it's like New York stopped communicating or something because they just weren't playing like.
Yeah, and it was horrible.
So like that's the only reason we're having this conversation is because that one went so poorly for New York.
Yeah.
If it would have gone more the distance, it would have been like easy Ultra New York FaZe. But I definitely see why. Like I'm debating putting New York a third.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is this what they're doing? This energy, is it sustainable? Which we've seen. Like Clay can carry energy for a long time, but at some point. Like,
oh shoot, we were gonna have the format debate because we wanted to debate
if the energy can stay sustainable, they're fine. But I don't know how long because like they're using a lot of energy. It feels like.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It is tough. You like what you saw again. FaZe finally ended their hard point streak, and that was in the winners finals. They beat them in map 4 to send it to a game 5. And, Subliners clutched up in that insane 1v1 between Hydra and Simp on Express, which was crazy. Rex, how are you feeling in that? You had to have been hyped.
I was so hyped. Because Hydra, like new guy Hydra versus like the old, like the god Simp. It's Hydra's like first like big thing, and like it's a round 11, 1v1. Hydra just killed Asim, killing the other guy. And then to not take, I tweeted about this, to not take the easy path of like, he has to plant now. I'm just going to run and try and get him while he has to plant. He didn't take the easy path. He's like, you know what? I'll let him buy extra time if he decides to do that. And I will play that extra, whatever seconds it is, 45 seconds. And I will try and play the 1v1 with an extra 45 seconds to get the defuse. Like, and that's like the most practical path, I feel like, when you're doing that. A lot of players, they would have tried to take the challenge to see if they could just get
Simp would have challenged himself.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, like just see if they can just get it easy while he's planting. Just hope that he's planting.
Yeah, or trust the gunny.
So they don't even have to like have the stress of dealing with it. Hydra's like, I'll take the stress. And it was just
good
the
calls
smarter
from Clay.
play.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't know if Hydra's being told to do not go there, do not check. Like, I don't know.
That's what gets interesting. So
I don't know if Hydra's decision was that or if he was being yelled to do that. But either way, that was the best decision to do. And player like Simp he was taking the chow because he knows people will do it.
100%.
Any other team, they're like, I'm 1v1ing Simp, round 11. This is for it all.
He's got a plant.
He's got a plant. I hope I can just get the easy gun fight because if he plants it, then it's done. But
for sure.
Like the smart play is what Hydra exactly is. Let him plant. And then
especially when you know Simp and where his tendency is not to plant, so that is really, really good. So as a whole, it is interesting with FaZe because it's like, the Subliners, they did beat them though. They beat them in the winners finals, and that's as massive as it gets. And they took an Apocalypse off them, which to be fair isn't FaZe's best map. Yeah. And then you play FaZe's best map, Raid, and FaZe won it. Man, it is really, really tough.
You saw that FaZe banned Apocalypse when they got to the grand finals too.
I know. And what's also tough is that like FaZe didn't even get to play a raid control or a raid hardpoint in the grand finals, and they still beat them, which is pretty telling. I mean, I would love it. There is a legit argument to put Toronto ahead of the Subliners, but the problem is like, Toronto went game 5 against OpTic. They dropped an S&D to the Thieves. They dropped two S&Ds to OpTic, and then they dropped multiple They brought both S&Ds to FaZe in their first matchup as well. So, in my opinion, right now, Ultra is actually in a kind of tough spot with Search and Destroys, where they were 0-2 against FaZe in map 1. Then they were 0-1 against the Thieves and S&D. So now they're 0-3. Then they won both against OpTic. So now they're 2-3. And then they split with FaZe. So they ended up being 3-4 in the S&Ds during the stage or during the tournament. Which, before that was the mode where you just assumed they're winning this. They're winning Search and Destroy. So at the end of the day, with that long explanation, I still think New York's respawn is nasty. And I have a lot of confidence in that being consistent throughout the next few weeks. And so I'm going to go with Ultra at 3.
Same. I'm going Ultra 3. Same reason. Just like New York's respawn just seems godly. So... And then Ultra seems like they're starting to bleed now. Like OpTic took them really far, and like I was expecting them, they should have been able just to crush OpTic from what we've seen from Ultra. So that's why I'm having Ultra 3, New York 2, FaZe 1.
Yeah, that's what's tough. The question for me right now is: do I put OpTic in a tier 1? Do I put them in their own tier 2? I shift it around a little bit?
I might have OpTic in their own tier, honestly.
Right, because it doesn't feel like they're yet fully there with Ultra. Like if you, let's say Ultra and OpTic played a 9-game series.
Yeah,
like
Ultra's
winning that pretty handily. Yes. And I think same goes for New York, same goes for FaZe. Like OpTic's there to a point where they can now compete in these championship runs. But if you go to a 9-game series against OpTic, I'm pretty confident you're going to beat them. This is another thing though, is that OpTic's auto veto of Miami is killing them right now. We saw you don't have to play. FaZe got smoked on Miami, by New York. Like you don't have to. I think they should take their chances of playing Ultra on Miami.
Yeah.
And instead they decided to play Ultra on Raid I'm sorry, they decided to play Ultra. Oh yeah, on raid in map 5, and they end up losing it. Okay, so are we all gonna? Oh, what? Oh my word! Are we all doing this?
We're all
OpTic in their
doing
own
this.
tier.
No, I have Thieves and also in OpTic's tier.
Okay, interesting. So none of us has OpTic in a tier 1 though.
No.
No. They could get there. They just broke the Thieves wall. But they just gotta show me a few more matches against some top teams and like how well they beat those teams to put me in that gold tier. And then they gotta play somebody in that gold tier
Again,
and have a really good show.
Yeah, their last match with FaZe was just whoa.
Right. So you're solely going off Toronto. You know, the Toronto series, which again, all of us have at 3, so it's right there.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I was really impressed with OpTic and their ability to win 2 hard points.
Yeah.
And they took the raid control, which is Ultra's best control map, and Ultra's been dominant in control. They took them to the brink. And so it was really, really close. And I think they were on like a 13 control game win streak heading into that, or 11 or 12, somewhere right in there, double-digit control win streak heading into that series. They took them 3-2. OpTic had defense, but then Cammy got streaks and forced the round and just basically took over. So at the end of the day, it was really fun, man. I mean, the FaZe v New York series, how close is New York to FaZe? I mean, do you think
close? I think.
Do you think that the finals was as representative of it? Because I mean, New York did beat them in a 5-game series twice now, back-to-back 5-game series. New York beat them, beginning of stage 3, and then they beat them in winners finals. So they beat them in back-to-back best of 5s.
Yeah.
But then they lose the best of 9.
I think they're close.
It does part of it go to say that it's just hard to beat a team twice.
Could be.
Not to mention a warm FaZe.
A warm FaZe.
Who's played a lot of maps that day. So I guess with that said, that is our final tier list here. If no one else has any other comments, I think we're right there. OpTic in its own tier and boom, boom, boom. So real quick, let's have a short convo about the format real quick, just of the finals and a few other things. So first of all, do you think this format needs to change? We've now seen 2 losers teams win the grand finals, 2 of 3. And do you think that the team from the winning side, at now seeing it twice happen, do they get enough of an advantage?
I would say my opinion is I feel like the team that won should get some advantage, whether it's a map up or you do 2 best of 5s. And then B, I do agree with Slasher's take of I feel like everyone should be starting at the same level, but your advantage is playing the lowest seed if you're seed 1.
Okay.
Right? Like not getting like a massive head start on like you win one game and you're in winner semis.
And then you get a 5-game advantage or a map advantage.
Exactly.
So he says that you should start early, and then just get the 1 map and or the best of 5. Yeah,
so, I would love to see that changed. Honestly, I don't like how it's you play the warm team of them just winning losers finals, and then you don't get any advantage. It just seems like there's.
Would both of you rather have the winners final be on Sunday as well?
I think so, yes.
Or would you rather have only, I saw Nameless say that they should only have the grand final on Sunday.
Oh,
I would like that, to be honest, but again, compacting it all in a more
that would be
digestible thing.
It'd be
Like
super
Saturday would be crazy, or Friday, like all the other days would be crazy.
That'd be terrible for the players.
Oh yeah.
But I would like it a lot if grand finals can just be the only one on Sunday. At least, like, that would be my
Do you
hope.
like
That's what
the
they
best
do
of
for
9s?
champs, at least. I don't mind them if it's like the only map anybody plays that day, because then it's like the teams can go prepare for the grand finals and play it. So I hope champs, at least the championship match, has its own day that only those 2 teams play, and they get
I could see that
day to prepare for each other.
That gets interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure if I like the idea of the best of 9.
Yeah.
And it's fun. There's not a perfect way to do it. I think the best way to do it is probably give the winning team a map that shortens the series a little bit. It makes every other map you play a little bit more valuable, and then you just go from there. So I think you just give the team who came from winners a 1 map advantage. Boom, you're there.
Yep.
Bang. I mean, we just saw that. New York won the first map.
Yep.
They had the map advantage, and then they lost the series.
Yep.
So it's like, just give them the map advantage. We just saw it happen.
Yep.
And I do agree that it does kind of suck, though, for the winning team that they come in cold. But, I mean, again, New York won map 1. So did it really matter? I don't know, because they won map 1. So
Hard to tell. Yeah.
it's hard to tell. So I don't have too big of a problem with anything. I would like to see the one map, though. And I think hopefully there's enough public pressure to get that changed moving forward. So, alrighty, intelligent or irrelevant, let's get right into it. Obviously, this podcast is pushing our normal time nowadays. Let's get right into it. Let's go.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Alrighty. What was the question today, Sam?
Here's the question. Which E-Star player is getting picked up next? John,
Ooh.
Sib, Jerd, or Gravity?
So back to our kind of conversation earlier. That's interesting. I mean, the question was just straight up, which player is going to get picked up next? So, are people taking in consideration how hard it'll be to get Sib? That's the question. All right, Rex, what's your prediction? What did people say?
I bet people said Sib.
Wait, said what? Sorry, your mic cut out.
Sibilance. I bet people
Sib.
said Sib.
I feel like the people want John.
I'm gonna guess Gravity.
Okay.
I mean, that's who I would pick as Gravity, but
for sure not Jerd.
Yeah, I mean, Jerd's the odd one out there right now.
So I'm going to vote for Jerd.
You might be the only vote.
I think I was. Okay, so 46% said John.
Wow. Okay, the hype is high.
28% Sib. 23% Gravity. And 3% Jerd, which is probably me.
How many votes were there?
Oh, 185.
Okay, so there might have been maybe one or two others.
A few, yeah. So, some comments that we are seeing.
Yeah.
OpTic. I think this is OpTic Texas Formal. If Sib didn't have his attitude, he'd be in the league already. But if John didn't have his health issues, he'd be in the league. But Gravity has been in the next in line for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Oh, so he just said whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
The real PD Gaming. I could see maybe Dallas wanting a new full-time assault rifle player. They pick
Gravity.
up Tom Gravity and put Crim in the flex position.
I think that's very possible.
Interesting.
yo, shout out Real PD Gaming.
And then Gunsage says, we want John, but I'm thinking Gravity for Octane.
Oh, he's going off of the bait hype.
Interesting. So
Interesting.
I'd say intelligent.
I'd say intelligent from the folks.
John.
I mean, again, Florida or Paris, I think, are the
Paris would be
two options at this point,
Yeah.
unless Seattle wants to make a move,
Yeah.
which maybe they do.
Have we ever done one that we're like, that's irrelevant? Have we always said intelligent?
Oh,
I
I've definitely
feel like there was one.
roasted the people before.
There was one I feel like where I was like, no way. I can't remember what it was though.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but no, we roast them out there, baby.
Yeah.
All right, what are you watching this week?
I'm gonna be watching the Dead Army. The
Army of the Dead?
Army of the Dead with Drax.
What's his face?
Whatever his
Oh my
name
word,
is.
what's his name? Yeah.
But I've only
The
seen
amount of ads.
I've only seen a lot of
my
ads for it.
goodness,
But
dude.
I am a fan of these zombie genre.
So many ads.
So 21st, pretty sure it drops. So I'm watching that.
Let me know how it is.
I will.
Then I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Rex, what are you watching?
I'm still watching Last Kingdom.
Oh, so good. I'll keep.
It is great.
just
It's a good
oozing.
Game of Thrones replacement.
Yeah, 100%, bro. I love it. Watching Bad Batch, Star Wars. A little bit
Okay.
of Bad Batch
Yeah.
has been really fun. And then I finished Westworld.
Oh, how was it?
Was
Like it?
Westworld good? I've heard a lot of good things.
Oh yeah, it was good. Season 2 really lulls for the first half. It's real slow. Second half's great. Third season's awesome. So
When are you
First
gonna watch
season's-
Game of Thrones, Josh?
one day.
Dude, The fact that you
I-
watched Westworld before Game of Thrones is
At
mind-boggling.
this point, it's just comedy. So I'm just kind of keeping up with it.
You just
I
keep
have no
going.
reason not to watch it. I'm sure I'd like it.
Yeah.
I know I'd like it.
I mean, how do you
Yeah.
not watch something that's so like hyped up? Like people call it like the
I
greatest
mean,
show
I just got
that's
so
ever created.
behind it. I got
And
so
you know,
behind
you
on
don't
it.
watch
It was
it.
just like,
Yeah.
Now I'm like in the exclusive club that hasn't seen it. And I kind of feel like I'm part of this club.
Yeah.
That hasn't seen it.
That's what it was for me for Breaking Bad. I was super late to.
Oh yeah.
I was super late to Breaking Bad.
Those are the two. Again, those are the two shows I haven't watched.
Yeah, that's
Breaking
right.
Bad.
You haven't even seen that yet, have you?
And Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like those are the era where I didn't really watch much TV.
Yeah.
Just middle of high school or early high school. I just didn't watch that much TV.
Yeah.
Or anything. So yeah. Anyway, all right, there it is. Obviously, not too much Call of Duty to watch this weekend, some Challenger stuff. But besides that, hope you guys enjoyed this podcast.
Thank you.
It's been a blast. Drop all your comments down below. Drop a review on Apple Podcasts. And we'll be seeing what goes on Twitter. We'll be throwing some polls up there on the Twitter as well. Best of 3 pod on Twitter. Follow the whole podcast. And we'll be posting some exclusive content over there. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And but as always, guys, I'm Josh. To my right is Bash_Bo3. To our farthest right is Rex, ShadyNero. And guys, we will see you next time. We out.